Hello, my soul family, and welcome to this week's Coffee Talk for May 27th through June 2nd, 2024. My name is Christy Ramirez. I'm your soul coach, spiritual influencer, and motivational speaker. So welcome, my soul family, to this brand new week. I am feeling amazing energy. This is the last week of May, and I feel that as we step into this new month of June, we are preparing for summer. So whatever those spring projects that you have in store, in your list to do, make sure that you get on top of it. Don't procrastinate and make each day count. And I think that this is a wonderful vibration to enter this week, especially coming off Memorial Day weekend. I feel that it is important to take that time out of the year, out of any moment in your life when things build up, when you're having a lot to do, to still know how to take a moment to enjoy life and just ground yourself in the moment and actually just have a moment with yourself. And that's something that I've been doing this weekend, is just enjoying my life and doing what I would like to do after, of course, doing the things that we need to do, but allowing ourselves that luxury and indulgence of enjoying the fruits of our labor. I think that that's been a main theme rolling off from last week and coming into this week. I feel like we're getting better at this. We're really getting better at balancing our life, at being able to accommodate to this new structure that we've been given by God and the divine to make the mission work more efficiently and sufficiently as well, right? So that we can be of greater use, so that we can actually make a difference in this world and get the message out there. I think that that's the main, I guess, purpose behind the collective being light workers and having missions, is that at the end of the day, it's to change the world. It's to heal the humans in the world, and it's to also elevate our vibration collectively so that we may all ascend into this new timeline, into this new conscious way of living, and really illuminate this new way of the spiritual movement. And I feel like this has been something that has been building up for many years, for many decades even, and we're in an era right now where we're like at the culmination of this peak. So I think that, bringing this into mind into this week is important, because I feel that we're closer than we think. If we've especially been working at something for a long time, eventually you're gonna be closer, and eventually you will reach the destination. You will get there. But it's not about not knowing how to enjoy your life, not being a workaholic, not being overachievers without having that balance in life. And balance is, again, not only like self-indulgence, but it's also spending time with loved ones, with family, friends, knowing how to balance out all the areas of your life, which is an art, to be honest. It's very difficult to manage, especially if you have a difficulty dealing with stress or just managing your time as well. That's all part of it. And then on top of that, your physical body might resist the changes, the workload, or maybe even like the exhaustion that eventually comes when you're, overworking over hours. And so I think that we're still learning on this journey, and especially as being on the spiritual journey. We said last week, and I did mention that being on the spiritual journey is always going to be a little bit more difficult than just living this life, living on earth, because it's just a little bit more. And it's that little bit of an extra mile that is so worth it in the end. You get access to so many great blessings, protection from heaven, and eventually also the gateway to enter into this paradise. And so it's a lot. It's a lot if you believe in the eternal life. And of course, if you are listening to this video, you obviously believe in a higher power and know that we are here for so much more, right? And I feel that that also centers us amidst maybe the chaos or the noise in your daily life, perhaps, especially if you're very social butterfly. that can be very difficult to tune into the spiritual nature of yourself because there's just so much noise around you. So I do think that if you're an extrovert and you're listening to this video, definitely make sure to take time to yourself to not only unwind, but unwind effectively, because there's a difference as well about, you know, maybe having a little time to yourself, whether that's a spa moment, maybe that glass of wine a week, but it's about how you're using it, right? Are you just sitting there and just numbing out, or are you kind of using it to kind of just get back in touch with your soul? There's just so much inner healing work that is required for the journey, and a lot of people don't know how to navigate that healing work, that inner work that needs to get done. And that's where hiring a specialized expert on the topic comes into play, a soul coach, even a therapist like myself as well, because there's just so many different components that can either delay or block you in your ascension journey. And I feel that collectively there's just a lot of people that are curious about the spiritual journey and wanting to get on the spiritual journey, but because of their own, again, inner healing work that's yet to be done, then they can't reach that spot. And so I think that definitely make it a point to seek help, seek guidance, go within, because sometimes if you really go deep within and you kind of seclude yourself for just a moment, maybe you have that ability to access divine presence and you can be illuminated with what needs work in your own life if you necessarily don't want to seek out help, right? So like for me, for example, being that I studied this for a living and my spiritual gifts were illuminated to me, I didn't find the need to seek out a certain person for help on my journey. I just spent a lot of time alone and I do the work. And the work is not always pretty. The work is not always easy. It's a lot of difficult moments. It's a lot of difficult days. Even myself, you know, to come here, I want to be honest, and I want to also acknowledge on my own personal journey that I feel that today as I'm showing up here, I feel my best that I have this whole year. And I feel more like an order. I feel like my work life is more structured with this mission, this business. And not only that, but personally, I feel like for some reason, I feel like I'm glowing. And I did a retreat last night, so I did a little bit of a sacred ritual, which is my Sunday night rituals now. And I felt like so at peace. I felt so at peace, so in touch with heaven. And I felt like I was glowing. And I didn't do anything in particular per se to, like, you know, my external self, although I always do take care of that, and that always is a priority. But it's also been the internal work more than anything, because we do glow from the inside out. And first of all, I did begin a woman series, so that has a lot to do with it. I already 3 episodes in, and that woman series is for empowerment, for confidence, for helping us to glow. And it is working, because all these topics definitely put to mind a lot of therapy, a lot of thoughts on the table. And then on top of that, also, you know, I've just been focusing on being more graceful with the difficult things that we are required to do for the journey. Whatever task maybe seem difficult, trying to put as much love into it, even finding the joy in it. And that was, again, last week's guidance, right? In our weekly coffee talk. How can we not only bring in the joy, but bring out the joy from what we're doing? And I really put that to practice last week, and I felt like I did my duties, because I have duties, you know, to do throughout the week, in much more grace, and I felt at peace. And it made me feel better, because when you don't do things so much in peace, then at the end of the task you feel that, why did you do it like that, right? It's almost like you want to kind of do it again, but in the moment you're just like, I'm glad that's over. But you don't want to be living your life like that, right? You don't want to be wasting those hours out of your day, because whatever task you're doing is time out of your day, time out of your life. And every time out of our life is valuable. It is worthy of being in peace and being in love and of enjoyment. We are to enjoy our life not only when everything is so luxurious and beautiful and perfect even, but also in those moments when things are not so perfect, or maybe you're not even feeling your best. And that's okay, right? How can we still find peace with that? And how can we still be at calm with that, right? Because a lot of the times if we are not at peace, we can let these inner tumultuous emotions get the best of us, and then it ruins the moment, and then it's almost like you spiral even. And if you spiral too low and you don't catch yourself, and especially if you're not like spiritually kind of like aware, then it can get really deep and bad, right? It can get into like a depression, it can get to maybe dealing with anxiety issues or any other kind of mental disorders even. So I think that it's important to really focus on those little things, because it's those little things that do prevent anything negative from, you know, coming about mentally, emotionally, or spiritually into your life. And so I think that by working on, start simple. It can be like, let's say you have maybe cleaning to do, or like maybe you have a lot of paperwork to do at work, and maybe it's not something that you really enjoy, or maybe it's something that you enjoy for a little bit, but maybe it's just so much piled up that it's like hours and hours of that how can you like control yourself and not allow those emotions to get the best of you? And a lot of the times taking breaks in between is the answer. Knowing how to just do little by little and not just kind of pile it up all into like one moment or one day, because then it can seem overwhelming, unless that's something that you prefer, so that way you can have like your other days to do things that you do enjoy, right? And so it's just about planning accordingly to your life. It's a very personalized journey, right? Not everybody's life is going to look exactly the same. Not everybody likes to do things exactly the same either. So it's about personalizing it to your liking and doing your own personal reflection. And I think that this week that's going to really benefit us internally, and that's where the inner work is going to begin, so that you can start to set farther goals, that you can start to really seek out your purpose and put it to motion and actually get to work. That's important, right? It's not about staying stuck in that in between, or staying stuck in the not having done the inner healing work, and then that kind of stopping you, because it will stop you from doing the mission. Because again, as light workers, being given this responsibility of healing and helping and illuminating, the door will not be opened if you're not in alignment, if you're not in spiritual alignment, or you're not like in this aura of high vibration, right? So you really need to put in the work. For me to show consistently, I need to put in the work, right? Everybody needs to put in the work. And so I think that this is a beautiful guidance from Spirit today. And again, just take it easy. And I know that we're coming off now also the long weekend, so a lot of you had Monday off, and you're perhaps listening to this on Tuesday. So again, that still applies, right? Just kind of get back on track. Don't let any, also like if you're behind on things, that gets you like in an emotional way, because we're all behind on something. There's never going to be everything completed. That's also something as a reminder, because I feel that for a lot of us, we always chase perfection and wanting everything to be complete, which is absolutely normal. It's fine to kind of think that way, but it's not always going to be the case. And that's also a blessing, because there's always something new to look forward to, right? Like there might be incomplete things around you or in your work, but that's what you show up to work for every day, right? It's so that you can get more things done, and then just continue to renovate, or renovate the energy, right? Renovate maybe whatever it is that you're working on. There's always room for improvement, and that's the excitement of it. That's what keeps us passionate about it. So just do what you can in the moment, and trust in divine timing, trust in divine flow, because if there is any delays for any reason, there's also a higher reason for that. So with that being said, I really do think that, you know, this week is all about just deciding what kind of week you want to have. And that goes for every week, right? We have the power and the will to decide how our day's gonna go, how our life's gonna be. And it all starts with the moment, right? It starts with your personal goals for the week per se. And so I think that just trust the best is yet to come, and just focus as well. Learn to focus on what is important so that you do have at least 3 things in your life that are priorities, right? And then always show up to that as like a priority. And I wouldn't suggest more than that, because then that is when you can get a little bit overwhelmed. You can fall a little victim to that. But there are other things that you can do, but that not necessarily are like priority, right? So like if you have children, obviously that's going to be a priority, right? If you have a job that pays you, obviously that's going to be a priority, right? And if you have a business, you have to kind of sort out what in that part of that business is important as a priority, because everything can't be a priority, right? Because then that would just drive anyone kind of crazy in a way. It would just drive anyone really stressed out, and we don't want to welcome that kind of energy. And it all starts by learning how to strategize. It's all about strategy. It's about learning to not only bring in the balance, but from the initial point, not stress yourself out. So this goes for, especially for any of you people who are hard workers or overworkers or overachievers, that we can put a lot on our plate, on our to-do list, and then sometimes not anything gets done, right? And that's not good either. So just as long as you have like 3 priorities for each day, 3 priorities for the week, like if it's special projects or something in particular, whatever it is, and maybe like 1 priority a month, I would say, like something that's just like major. And then as long as those things got achieved, then you did a good job. And if something else got achieved on top of that, then that's even more of a good job, right? Because again, I believe we did speak about this in last week's coffee talk. We spoke about knowing how to reward yourself for little milestones along the journey, and not just waiting for the big bang, right? Like the big prize, the big win, the big ending, because that could be a little far out. And we don't want to wait that long to enjoy, because there's a lot of people that are uptight and don't like to enjoy, don't like to indulge in life, not even on the weekends, right? And to be honest, I used to be like that a couple years ago. And it wasn't a good feeling, because it's so hard to keep up that in a way. And especially if you're a very strict person, in the moment it's easy to say no, because you are very disciplined, you're very strict, but you don't know the art of unwinding or letting go a bit, right? Enjoying life, like food for the soul, for example. That's a beautiful saying. And knowing how to comfort yourself doesn't have to be comfort food, but it can be like the comfort of taking yourself out on a little getaway, or just taking yourself out on a date, or doing something out of the ordinary, right? And indulging with it without any guilt. Because I think that if you still have the guilt while you're indulging, then you're not really enjoying it, right? I've learned the art of this. It took me many years to learn this, because I grew up very disciplined, and I've always been an athlete, so I had like very strict training my whole life. And for me, it was never difficult to say no. For me, in fact, that was like my #1 vocabulary word. Oh no, I'm okay, no, I don't want that. And if people would beg, I would just still say no, and I just wouldn't care. And I still say that if it's like I'm strict with a regime for a moment or something, or anything else in my life particularly. But when I know that it's time to unwind or enjoy, I allow it in my life, right? And I think that that is an art that we can learn this week, because this not only goes with like anything in particular. It doesn't have to be like a wellness regimen. It could be related to work. Like if you're strict with your work, know how to take a day off. And maybe it's difficult because maybe there's always something to do, right? Especially as a business owner and having your own business and your own like our little artistic endeavors. There's always something to do. There's always going to be something to do. Like if I wanted, I could do something every day, but my body sometimes just won't let me. And I've learned to allow my body to tell me what it's going to do that day in a way, and kind of still showing up for priorities. But if I'm not feeling good the next day for whatever reason, I know how to take it slower. Like it doesn't have to be a whole day off, because maybe you can't take a whole day off, but knowing how to be easy on yourself, how to be compassionate with yourself, like that's #1 to healing on the spiritual journey. And that's part of the healing inner work that I was talking about. this inner work requires a lot of compassion for self, a lot of love towards self, and just a lot of nurturance, and like mothering of your own self, whether you're a man or woman listening to this. And if you didn't get that growing up, then it's about learning it on your own. And what would you do to a child if you had one? And how would you like that child to be treated? Treat yourself that way, and then you're gonna start to see the healing magically happen that way. So I think that this is a lot to take in this week. And I'm going to get started on the daily morning spiritual guidance right now. Make sure that you do watch it every morning. It's only 3 to 5 minutes. And I promise you that it's going to raise your vibration. It's going to really set a beautiful heavenly tone for your day. And you're just going to stay centered on what's important. So I hope to see you there. And of course, I'll see you next week with our coffee talk. Thank you for watching. And for more exclusive content, make sure that you do join my Spiritual Counseling TV network on my website, christyramirez.com/TV. And also make sure that you do check out my School of Light, which I teach twice a week, 2 to 3 times a week actually. And you can get access and become a member and get access to all my series that I've worked over the past years at christyramirez.com/school. That's where it begins. That's where my journey began. Before even the series, my school was the first thing that I started. So I definitely recommend that you start with the Course in Miracles. That was one of the first books on my journey. Even before like The Power of Now, The Alchemist, which are very kind of mainstream spiritual books, A Course in Miracles was the book that truly woke me, that truly changed my way of thinking, and that allowed me also to learn how to be living in more love and then start to embody my higher self. So definitely check out that series. I've taught it already 4 times, and I'm going to be starting a redo of the series this year as well. But last year's series is there. There's only a couple left, the final chapters. There's 31 chapters, so I believe like the first 10 are already there, and I still have to upload a couple more. But I'm gonna start filming again because I've been guided to redo it again. And you know, I don't know why, but it's just gonna be every time it's better. And a lot of it has to do with the aesthetics of my new dream home that I'm working on, and like the, you know, the decorations and like just the aesthetics of the series, because we want to make it aesthetic as possible and just very, you know, filmable, so that it is timeless videos. And so there were a lot of kind of still like things that again I've done in my own life that were little mistakes, but it doesn't really kind of ruin the message. It was just like the aesthetics part of it. So again, if you're watching those past series, just keep that in mind. But I will be definitely refilming that. Again, even for me, it's been a long journey with this spiritual work, but I'm enjoying the journey, and I just suggest the same for you. And I definitely hope that you join me in this spiritual community so that we can all learn together, grow, and evolve. I'll see you next week. Namaste.